We're grateful for who God is. That list of names given, holy and mighty and all of that, that's just the beginning of things. When Jesus was jousting with the Pharisees, Jesus made it clear to them that when you start talking about me, you're talking about something that surpasses Abraham. Because before Abraham was, he said, my name is I am. In other words, when you open up the book to look at all of the good things that a person can possibly be mighty and triumphant and awesome and holy, he says that that's just the beginning of it. He had to close the book.
Who am I, America? My name is Darrell R. IZARD. I grew up in Hickory, North Carolina. Exactly, the apartment number was 909 South Center Street. I grew up with a single mother who had me and my 3 other siblings. My father was one of the biggest drug dealers in Hickory, North Carolina, him and his twin brother. Because of him slinging and selling drugs, he was incarcerated for most of my life, for about 12 years. So I had to grow up early. Though I was the oldest, but I still had to grow up early and help take care of my siblings and be there for my mom. And growing up early, it made me be who I am today. I experienced bullying from elementary all the way up to my 10th grade year of high school. My mom did the best she could with me and my siblings, had all the good shoes and name brand shoes and clothes. And one day she felt like I was just so ungrateful. And her and my grandma yelled at me and they said, "Why, you seem like you're just very ungrateful. You have everything that anybody could ever ask for. Why are you so ungrateful?" And I immediately just yelled and I said, "You don't understand what I go through at school. The kids are bullying me. They call me names. They pick on the way I talk. They pick on the way I walk." And from there, my mom and my grandma went to the school and they talked to the administrators, and it got better for a little bit, but then eventually it started back again. And it got so bad that I started treating my family bad because of what I was experiencing through school. And my mom sent me off to a group home. But this wasn't an ordinary group home, it was a Christian-based group home where we stayed in church day and night. It was a holiness church that they were a part of. And in this group home is where I found, I would say my calling for ministry, my calling for being an artist and encouraging people. So after about a year, I was able to go home and I moved in with my great-grandmother, who was very sick at the time. So it was very beneficial for not only her, but for me, because I was able to transfer school systems instead of going to the school I was or the school. So after about a year of being in the group home, I returned home and I moved in with my great-grandmother, who was very sick at the time. So it was not only beneficial for her, but it was beneficial for me because I was able to move school districts. This school district, it seemed like I should have been there all along. There was no bullying. There was, seemed like the kids had a little bit more, the kids were a little bit more civilized, I would say. So I joined the choir, I joined the band, and got to experience traveling to New York and Disney World and all over singing. It was just like, this is where I needed to be the whole time. So I moved there. It was called Newton Conover High School, where I was there from 10th grade to 12th grade and still staying with my grandmother and still dealing with different challenges such as being depressed and ADHD, all these things the doctors kept trying to throw at me. So I had to take medicine and all that stuff. But eventually I was able to overcome all those things with going to therapy and just keeping myself busy. So after high school, I stayed around with my great-grandmother for a little bit and decided what I really wanted to do, what my purpose was. And so I got a little job at Waffle House And my grandmother bought me a car. And then as I was at Waffle House, I decided that it was time for me to go off, leave Hickory and go off and pursue some things that I felt like I wanted to do. So I ended up at Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina, which was my decision, but my mom, she felt like it was too far. She didn't want me to go. In fact, she told me I wasn't going. And I was doing everything I could to make arrangements and get my ride there because my mom didn't want to take me. Eventually, during a counseling session, the counselor talked to my mom and she was like, he needs to experience this. If he doesn't like it, then he can transfer always. So my mom finally decided to let me go, and her and my brothers and my grandma, they all helped me move in. And my first year of college was rough. Just like any freshmen who go off, they've never been off, start partying and hanging downtown a little bit more than I should. And I got in a relationship that kind of ruined me, got me off my focus. So as the term ended, was close coming to an end, I had to be put on academic probation. Well, I was on scholarship at Shaw University. So because I was put on academic probation, I lost my scholarship. And I'm like, man, I can't tell my mom this. What in the world am I going to do? And eventually I just told her, and she's like, well, you got to come home. I'm like, nah, I ain't coming home. I'm just going to take out some student loans. And she said, I'm not signing for no student loans. So I was sitting here trying to figure out how I could take out a student loan without my mom, which wasn't possible. So I lost my scholarship and I had to come back home. And I enrolled in a community college where you go for 2 years and then you can transfer to a university. The people who were over my scholarship told me that if I pulled my GPA up, I can get my scholarship back. So while at this community college, I was doing the best I could to get my GPA up. Then all of a sudden, I get diagnosed with cancer. And this cancer was a type of cancer that my aunt had died of many years ago. And it's crazy because I was dying and I didn't even know it. Just happened to go to the doctor and because I wasn't feeling any aches or pains or anything, but I was losing a lot of weight. And I just felt like it was, I'm just losing weight because the medicine that I was on or something, I didn't really just pay it no attention. So when the doctor told me I had cancer, I just cried and cried and cried on my way home. And I told my mom, and we both cried, and we prayed and we cried. And for about 2 to 3 years, nobody knew except God, myself, the doctors, and my mom. We didn't tell a soul. And it was hard not telling anybody, but I didn't want any pity from anybody. I didn't want anybody to treat me any different. I just wanted to continue to live my life. So while having cancer, I was still in the community college, and I also enrolled in a theology school to get my biblical studies degree. So I'm working 2 jobs, going to 2 different schools, and dealing with cancer at the same time. Just trying to stay busy, to keep my mind off of what I was dealing with. So eventually, I finished the community college with a 3.0, and shortly after I finished the biblical studies degree with a 4.0. So they told me that if I got my GPA up to a certain level, I would be able to go back and get my scholarship. So this time I got my scholarship back, but I did not go back to Shaw University. I applied to different schools, UNCG, John C. Smith, Livingstone, all these different colleges. I got accepted to all of them, except Wingate that I applied to. Me and my mom went and visiting all these different schools and seeing what was best fit for me. And one of the last schools I got accepted to was Winston-Salem State. And we went and toured it, and just felt like I was at home the moment I walked on the campus. So I chose to go to Winston-Salem State. And at Winston-Salem State, I was then a junior because I transferred those 2 years of college, the community college. And my major was business administration, concentration management. And the first year or so, or the first semester, I stayed to myself, just did my studies and stayed in my dorm room. But then as the next semester came, I came out of my shell a little bit more and met some people. Actually, there were some people from Hickory that was there who I connected with. And I started joining clubs, the choir and business club and African American club, all these different things I was joining just to kind of get familiar with the school and what they're all about. So eventually I joined a fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, which was something that really helped me develop as a young man, older in my teen years, I would say. So just growing up in school and things, I didn't really have any guy friends or that brotherhood, I guess you would say. So this was something I was looking forward to having, where you have some brothers you can lean on and they can hold you accountable. And that's exactly what they did. We still talk to this day. It was 9 of us. Matter of fact, it was the biggest line we had in 10 years. So it's very exciting to become a part of a brotherhood that it's a lifetime of friendship and relationships. So eventually I go on to my senior year and doing my senior project and all these things. And I lose my great grandfather, which kind of put another damper on me and led me into depression. I didn't only lose him, but I lost a childhood Sunday school teacher from the church I was a part of. I lost my grandfather, who was very inspirational in my life. He was on the radio for about 50 plus years and MC for different gospel artists like Shirley Caesar and Mighty Clouds of Joy, all those different people. And he inspired me to do my gospel music, a lot of my gospel music and writing. So it was very difficult when I got the call that he had passed. I remember getting the call from a friend, actually. My mom and grandma thought it was best not to tell me, let me get through classes or whatever, but somebody had called me and said, sorry for your loss of your grandpa. And I immediately just started screaming and yelling and just going off. Called my mom and I said, what is this? And I'm hearing that Papa is dead. And I just yelled and yelled and yelled. I screamed and cried. I remember a friend coming up the steps and giving me a hug and just trying to comfort me. So that led me into depression. I stayed in my dorm room probably for the next 2 weeks, not going to classes. And my grades went down, but eventually I was able to talk to my counselor, who I hadn't talked to since I've been in school, and it helped me get a little bit, I guess, get some comfort in knowing that my grandpa wouldn't want me to just stop going to classes. He would want me to continue on and finish the course. So I got back in the books and doing long night studies and things so I could get my grades up. And eventually I was able to continue and be successful. I ended it like in a 3.82, I would say, something like that. And during that, the pandemic came. So I wasn't able to graduate. I lost my job and had to stay home and do all these things online. So it was very difficult for us who graduated during the pandemic or were supposed to graduate. And that led me into depression a little bit as well. And then just trying to find a job right out of school, but during the pandemic, everybody was saying they want a hiring freeze, hiring freeze, hiring freeze. So I had to stay home, go back home and stay home a little bit and get another job at Bojangles just to make some money. And eventually I saw a job on LinkedIn and I applied, which was in Raleigh, North Carolina as a HR associate, which was kind of what I was doing on the job I lost before the pandemic. And so I moved to Raleigh. My grandma and my mom and my siblings helped me once again to move to Raleigh. And all of a sudden, I moved to Raleigh and I'm on this job, and the pandemic gets worse. And they laid me off. And I'm like, okay, I done moved all the way to Raleigh and don't know a soul down here. And you're gonna lay me off. And you knew I was moving here. It was very devastating and I did not know what I was going to do. In fact, it was rough. My mom and them, they didn't even know I lost my job. Luckily, I had a little part-time job that was helping me continue to pay my bills or whatever, but barely making it. Then I looked on LinkedIn again and I found another opportunity where I can apply kind of in the same field. And I applied and I got the job, and still today I'm still there. It's been an awesome experience, and just while doing all this, I began to start writing, just writing some of the things I went through and how I have overcame different things, the trials and the tribulations, many trials and tribulations, the ups and the downs, the losses, the bad relationships, dealing with the cancer at an early age. I thought I would put it all in a book and encourage people that no matter what you go through in life, you can make it. You can make it on top. God's grace will see you through. So all that is in this book that I wrote entitled Overcoming Opposition, and it's basically just trying to encourage people to keep it on no matter what. Because life is hard. Life is real hard, and people my age or younger, they're dealing with different things that our parents or our grandparents dealt with. It's very, I would say, it's some rougher stuff than what they dealt with. So it's easy to fall off balance and get unfocused, but we got to stay the course no matter what. So I'm hoping that when somebody reads this book, Overcome Opposition, that it will help them to get back on course and stay focused. And also that goes along with my new music single, Don't Give Up on God. Basically saying the same thing, don't give up no matter what you're going through, because God won't give up on you. It's both of these things came during a very difficult path in my life, because I lost my great-grandmother last year. So just putting a lot of tears and sweat and everything that I've been dealing with for the loss of her is in this book and in this song, Don't Give Up on God. My grandmother was my heart. I always tell my people I loved my mom, but my great-grandmother was truly my heart. So it's been very difficult navigating this life without her. But because of God's grace and the abilities He gave me to write, I thank God for that, just being able to write and put my thoughts down on paper or in music, and it's been helping me get through. I still have my bad days, but the music and the writing has really helped me get through. Yeah. So who am I, America? I'm Darrell R. IZARD, a recording artist, an author, a minister, motivational speaker, and it hasn't been easy. I had to go through some things, but as I said in my trial sermon, you have to go through a process to get to where you're trying to go in life. And my process was difficult. I had to go through a lot of ups and downs, but in the end, I think it's worth it. Even all the losses and all the gains and all the bad relationships, even the cancer, it was all a part of my process. So I could get to my purpose, to my destiny. So I encourage you, no matter what you're going through, to go through your process. No matter what it feels like, no matter what it looks like, no matter what those say about you, go through your process so you can reach your destiny. You can get my book, Overcoming Opposition, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any place where you get your book. And you can get my music on all digital platforms. Don't Give Up on God, Darrell R. IZARD. And you can go to my website for booking or even prayer requests, or to see my schedule, what I may be doing at www.darrell, DARRELL, IZARD, IZARD.com. And no matter what you do, just keep your head